Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Darati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Mahami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Purubhyasta Krupa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. We're doing 46. Which verse did we 46?
We did 43, 44, yeah, 46 now.
Okay, that's all right, I'm just making sure. Okay, 46.
The one which we did, yeah,
Yes,
because and the YouTube is still 46.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So, what did we discuss last time? Who was here? All of you? Okay. Some of you? So what did we discussed 42, 43 last time?
Yes.
So what did we learn? What did Krishna say last week? You have to, what's that?
So most of the people will fall for the Vedas flowery words and they not understand the reality of reality behind it, that Krishna consciousness is here.
So many people will be attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas, yeah? What else did we discuss?
Well, they get stuck in the different lokas rather than going to the Vaishnava loka.
Okay.
Because they are looking for sacrificial benefits out of things, which are mundane, rather than looking for the higher Krishna consciousness.
Okay, so they're aspiring for some material benefits and thus get stuck in the higher material lokas, but not ultimately reaching the spiritual realm. Okay. Yeah. Why does Krishna say men of small knowledge? That seems a little bit strong statement, no? Why is he saying men of small knowledge are very much attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas?
Because we're in the Kali Yuga, so there's a lack of knowledge in general.
So we're in this age of Kali Yuga and there's a lack of knowledge in general. So that's a very good statement Krishna is telling us let's understand our relative position. Yes. What else? Why?
Misunderstanding the meaning of the Vedas itself.
So maybe misunderstanding the meaning of the Vedas themselves, right? So what is Krishna's authority to speak on the Vedas? Is he qualified to speak on the Vedas?
Yes.
And what is his qualification?
He is the author.
He is the author. So can anybody be more conclusive or a higher authority on the Vedas than Krishna himself?
No.
He is the author of the book. So on one hand we can think, maybe he's being insulting, right? He's saying the flowery words. That's not really a glorification. It's somewhat of a sarcastic almost type tone. But we know Krishna is the author of the Vedas. So he is telling Arjuna, don't be attracted by the flowery words of the Vedas. Right? So what do the Vedas primarily offer one? What is the result of the major section of the Vedas? Not all the Vedas, but the main sections of the Vedas. What do they offer? Fruits. What kind of fruits?
Material world.
Material world fruits. Material world fruits. And what is the qualities or characteristics of fruits in the material world?
Enjoyment.
Enjoyment. What kind of enjoyment?
Bodily.
Bodily. What's that?
Superficial.
Temporary.
Superficial.
Superficial. Bodily. And one other criteria. In the spiritual world, what kind of enjoyment do we get?
Spiritual.
Spiritual. Which has what types of qualities?
It's without bondage.
Permanent. Without bondage.
They're not
No.
bonded by karma.
No karma.
Unlimited.
Unlimited. So one is temporary and limited. The other is eternal and unlimited. Spiritual world, eternal, unlimited. Material world, even the highest realms of material world, temporary and limited. So which is the better place for us to go? The spiritual world, right? So one may become tempted by these seemingly better things, better than what we have today, right? But in order to make a good decision, one must have a complete understanding of all the options. Then one can decide what's best, right? This sometimes happens, You go to a really wonderful wedding party. And at the reception, there are unlimited food stalls. So many different varieties of food. But we have one lamentation. Only one stomach. So what do we do before we start filling our plate? What do we do?
Walk around.
We walk around. We do due diligence. Right? And if we're really smart, we break up in teams. Okay, you go that direction, I'll go this direction, and we'll WhatsApp each other what's available, maybe with pictures. So we don't just go to the first station and fill our plate, right? Why? Why don't we just go to the first station and fill our plate?
They put the dessert in the end.
Well, you might have walked in the end. Let's say you walked in the end.
Our desire to experience all the manifesting.
You want to, but you can't enjoy them all. So you have to pick and choose.
So we will skip the things which we eat on a regular basis. We want to eat something which is
Right. So you have to assess what is all the different offerings. Then what do? Then you decide, right? What we're going to eat. We don't just jump into the first thing that looks appetizing. It might be appetizing, but our question is, what is the question? If we go to the first thing, oh, this looks really good. But what question do we have?
Which one will give you more pleasure?
What else is there? What else is there, right? Maybe there's something that I want even more than this. I want this. This is really good. This is better than what I get at home. Not at my home, of course. But this is better what I get at home. So I have to say my wife is sitting here. She might throw something at me. So I have to see what all the options are. Then I make a decision, right? So we do this for a simple filling our belly at some nice wedding function. So in life, shouldn't we understand what are all the options available to us? And then decide what to pursue? Understanding the different scenarios, the different options. So Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. He's saying, don't be tempted by booth number 1 only. First understand the different scenarios. Then of course it's up to you to decide what is best. So Krishna is warning us that the Vedas provide wonderful benefits, amazing benedictions and boons compared to what we have today. But compared to what can be achieved through bhakti, the process that Krishna has just been speaking about, even those benefits seem very small, insignificant. For example, if you're walking down the street and you see $100 bill on the ground, what do you think? Wow, it's good, and we grab it, right? Money, good, real money. If you're Bill Gates and walking down the street and he sees a $100 bill, what does he think?
Still grab it.
It's not significant. He might grab it, but it's not significant, right? So significance is, on one hand, relative to our current situation. But from an absolute basis, it can be observed with total knowledge. So the benedictions offered in the Vedas are not insignificant. They're significant compared to what we have today. But compared to what one can achieve, ultimately it is very insignificant. Because getting some temporary material benefits, it's better than having what we have now. But compared to eternal life in loving service to the Lord, in devotional service, it's like a flashlight, a very bright, powerful flashlight. If we turn off all the lights, a bright, powerful flashlight can light this whole room, right? This is a strong flashlight. But you take that flashlight outside in a bright sunshine day, does a flashlight have any significance? You cannot even perceive its light. So like that, these material benedictions, in the darkness of the material world, relatively have some happiness. But compared to the bliss of the spiritual world, they're not even perceptible. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, be careful. Don't be attracted by what seemingly looks pretty good, because something much better is available. And that much better we know is devotional service. So now let's read what Krishna has to say in continuation of this theme in the 46th verse. Someone wants to read the verse?
All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a greater reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purpose of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. Purport. The rituals and sacrifices mentioned in the Karma Kanda division of the Vedic literature are meant to encourage gradual development of self-realization. And the purpose of self-realization is clearly stated in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of studying the Vedas is to know Lord Krishna, the primeval cause of everything. So self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relation with Him. The relationship of the living entities with Krishna is also mentioned in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 15%. The living entities are parts or parcels of Krishna. Therefore, revival of Krishna consciousness by the individual living entity is the highest professional stage of Vedic knowledge. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.337 as follows. O my Lord, a person who is chanting your holy name, although born of a low family like that of a Kandara, a dog eater, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penances and sacrifices according to Vedic ritual and studied the Vedic literature many times after taking his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. Such a person is considered to be the best of the Aryan family. So one must be intelligent enough to understand the purpose of the Vedas without being attached to the ritual only, and must not desire to be elevated to the heavenly kingdoms for a better quality of sense gravitation. It is not possible for the common man in this age to follow all the rules and regulations of the Vedic rituals, nor is it possible to study all the Vedanta and Upanishads thoroughly. It requires much time, energy, knowledge and resource to execute the purpose of the Veda. This is hardly possible in this age. The best purpose of Vedic culture is served, however, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, the deliverer of all fallen souls. When Lord Chaitanya was asked by a great Vedic scholar, Prakashananda Saraswati, why the Lord was chanting the holy name of the Lord like a sentimentalist instead of studying Vedanta philosophy. The Lord replied that his spiritual master has found him to be a great fool and thus asked him to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. He did so and became ecstatic like a madman. In this age of Kali, most of the population is foolish and not adequately educated to understand Vedanta philosophy. The best purpose of Vedanta philosophy is served by inoffensively chanting the holy names of Lord. Vedanta is the last word in Vedic wisdom, and the author and knower of the Vedanta philosophy is Lord Krishna. And the highest Vedanist is the great soul who takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord. This is ultimate purpose of all Vedic mysticism.
Okay. Long purport. So Krishna is saying all purposes served by a well at once can be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. So this well and great reservoir analogy is familiar to those who come from village life, right? So in the villages we have multiple wells, right? One well is for washing clothes, one for washing, cooking, maybe one for bathing, one for drinking. Different wells are there, right? But what happens when one is living on the banks of some giant river? How many wells they have?
Only one.
Only one. And they use that river for everything. All of their needs are met by that one reservoir of water. Right? So Krishna is making kind of an example here. He's saying that all these individual purposes of the Vedas, they can be served by one single activity. Right? And what is that one single activity? Chanting, serving Krishna. But specifically, we see in this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So this verse that's coming from the 3rd canto, it says that, "O my Lord, a person who's chanting the holy name of the Lord, although born in a low family like that of a Chandal dog eater, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization." But then the verse continues. Why? What is the position of one who is taking to the chanting of the holy names? According to this verse, what does it say?
That they must have performed some penance.
Some penance, yeah. So, perform, the verse says, what kind of penances?
Vedic.
Vedic penances. And how many? Many? Thousands?
All kinds.
All of them. All of them. So when it says that one who's performed all kinds of penances, right? Sacrifices, and studied Vedic literature many, many times, not just once or twice. After? Taking bath. In what? Our bathtub upstairs?
All the holy places.
In all the holy places. How much effort it would take us to take bath in all the holy places? Little bit of effort or lots? How much effort it would take us to perform all the different Vedic penances? How many lifetimes it would take? You know, if you did one per day, it would take you many, many lifetimes to perform all those penances. Yet, by one activity, one gets the benefit of doing all of those. And what activity is that? Chanting the holy names of the Lord. But we don't have actual faith in that. If we think and chanting the holy names is non-different, I'm getting more benefit than having bathed in all the holy places, would we ever forget to chant our rounds in the morning? No. But this is the Shastric injunction actually. This is the Shastric injunction. And that is why Prabhupada writes here that the best purpose of Vedanta, the best purpose of Vedanta is achieved by what? What does he say towards the end of this purport? How can we best achieve the purpose of Vedanta philosophy? Keep going a little bit later, a little bit down. He makes
pleasure in chanting of holy name of Lord.
Keep going a little bit further.
This is the ultimate.
Oh, sorry. Come up a few more lines. The best purpose of Vedanta's philosophy is served by inoffensively chanting. So we might then ask, what are the offenses in chanting? One of the offenses in chanting, the fifth offense in chanting, is to consider the glories of chanting to be imagination. To consider them exaggeration, overstated. No, how can chanting the holy names be more powerful than bathing in all the holy rivers? That must be some, just false marketing. When they give you marketing on a product, right? And then you get the product like, that's not what they told me. So when we hear this, we think that actually that is no offense to the holy names. That if we consider these glories to be imagination, to be exaggeration. So this is the perfection of all the Vedas, is to chant the holy names of the Lord. And who is establishing that? Who is making this statement ultimately? Krishna. And what is Krishna's authority again to speak on the purpose of the Vedas? He is the author. Who can speak more conclusively about why any book was written besides the author? Nobody can speak more conclusively. Right? So he is the ultimate authority in the Vedas. And in the beginning of this purport, what is the purpose of the Vedas? To give us material pleasures? To allow us to fly in celestial airplanes and, dance in the celestial gardens and enjoy wonderful food stuff? Is that the purpose of the Vedas?
No.
So what is the singular purpose of the Vedas?
Self-realization.
Self-realization. That is the only purpose of the Vedas. Is self-realization. So Arjuna in the prior verses was being told, don't be attracted to these, so-called opulences. That's not the purpose of the Vedas. That's the inducement to come to self-realization. Sometimes we know that in order to get, particularly a child, to take some medicines, what do we have to do? We have to coat it in sugar. Right? We coat it in sugar. Is the point to give the child sugar? No. The point is to give medicines. So similarly, these allurements that are given in the Vedas, they are simply an inducement to start the process of self-realization. But the real purpose of the Vedas, the only single purpose, again, is self-realization. So what is self-realization? Don't say realizing the self. What does self-realization mean?
Understanding our real position.
Okay, understanding our real position. So I am engineer, I am doctor, I am son of this, I am US citizen. That's my position.
Realizing we are part and parcel of Krishna.
So realizing I am part and parcel of Krishna. Because what I've said just before that, is that my real position? I am engineer, I am this, I am that, I am... What is all that?
Materials.
That's my...
For
Body.
materialism.
That's my body. That's the designation of my body. But am I the body? No. So realizing what the body's relationship is to this world, that's one realization, but that's not self-realization. Because who am I?
Servant.
I am soul. So knowing the soul. Okay. So...
What's the purpose of your being?
Okay, that's the next question. So I know I am part and parcel of Krishna, right? So that's one. But is that complete self-realization? No, I need to answer your question, right? Which is, what is my purpose? Right? So what is my purpose?
Serving Krishna.
Serving Krishna. Is that my temporary purpose or eternal purpose? What was my purpose last life? What was my purpose 2 lifetimes ago? 10 lifetimes ago? 10 lifetimes in the future? What is my purpose? Because that is my Sanatan Dharma. What is the meaning of Sanatan Dharma? Sanatan means eternal. Dharma means what's my occupation. I only have one occupation as spirit soul. And that is serving Krishna. So when I understand that, then I can say I am self-realized. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, my eyes are not following it. He says, self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with Him. So my relationship with Krishna is, I am, what am I again?
Servant.
Servant. And what is Krishna?
Master.
Master. And when I try to be master, what happens? Welcome to Troy, Michigan. That's what happens. And when we remember, I am servant and Krishna is master, what happens? Welcome Goloka Vrindavan. So, then the question might become, how do we know this is our relationship? How do we know this is my relationship with Krishna?
Vedas.
Vedas.
Krishna says in Vedas.
Krishna says it. Where does he say it in the Bhagavad Gita? Here, chapter 15, verse number 7. And many other places, right? He says, Mamayvamsho jiva bhuta, sanatanaha. That all the souls, they are my fragmental, eternal parts. We are part and parcel of Krishna. Is every soul part and parcel of Krishna?
Yes.
Every soul?
Yes.
Yes.
Even the dog next door?
Yes.
The bird in the sky?
Yes.
Those living in Alaska?
Yes.
South Africa? America? Everywhere? Every soul? Same part and parcel? So there's only one source. And that is Krishna. So is Krishna consciousness a matter of religion? Is Krishna consciousness a matter of taste? Is it a matter of preference? Is it a matter of belief? Krishna consciousness is an eternal truth, fact. Just like gravity is not a matter of opinion. It's a law of nature. Whether I agree with the laws of gravity or not, it applies. Whether I choose to accept it or not doesn't impact whether gravity affects me, right? So my position is fixed. I am part and parcel of Krishna, and I am servant, he is master. So what is my choice in the process? Accept it or not accept it. So just like when we did a due diligence process of the whole food court, I promise Prasadam is coming soon. We did a diligence of the whole food court. How did we decide what to put onto our plate?
Our mind.
Yeah, but how did the mind? What's best? Okay. So how am I going to decide whether I'm going to accept this as my position or not? How should I decide?
First one.
By what?
Same analysis.
Same analysis. What's best for me? So what is the result when I deny or choose to ignore the fact that I'm eternal servant of Krishna? What is the result?
Stuck in the material world.
Well, birth, death, old age, disease, adhyatmika, vibhautika, devi. Everything we experience here. Just today in the newspaper came a survey. And they surveyed parents. And this is, I think, I didn't read the whole thing, but I read part of it. I think they said it was the first time that the majority of parents believe that their children, the next generation, will be worse off than themselves. Right? So every generation previously had thought, with advancement of technology, advancement of medicines, advancements of education, these things, that people would find a better realm of life. But we know, quality of life compared to what it was a couple generations ago. But now this survey has been published, and that is the expectation. So that's the reality. So living in denial of the self-realization, that's the result. Okay, so that's one side. What's the result of living in self-realization? Becoming the servant of Krishna. That sounds like, I don't want to serve, I want to be the master, I want to be the boss. Right? I don't like going to the office every day and the boss makes more money, tells me what to do and all that. No, I want to be the controller. That might be true in a material, but what is the result of one who has perfectly understood their position as servant of Krishna?
Happiness.
What kind of happiness?
Eternal.
He is not attached to the results
Free from
of whatever is
anxiety.
happening around. He knows that it is.
Well, he's not attached, so he gets eternal, unlimited happiness and bliss.
Even if problems come in their life, they would be kind of strong in the sense that they know that it's coming because Krishna is the one who is, it is not in my control.
One has strong
Because of
faith.
my past actions or whatever. And even if there are problems, it will also pass. It's like seasons.
100%. And they know, ultimately, one who is self-realized understands where are the problems coming to.
Material.
The body.
The body. They're not impacting me as soul. Right? So, this is the conclusion. So the whole of the Vedas is to bring us to this conclusion. What conclusion? Again?
Self-realization.
Which means?
Serving Krishna.
Serving Krishna. Heart and person.
Yeah, I have to say it all together. Right? I am part and parcel of Krishna, eternal servant of Him. That is self-realization. So the entirety of the Vedas is now within your hands. How many people can say that? They have understood the entire purpose of the Vedas. And by performing what activity do we achieve all the purpose of the Vedas?
Yes.
Chanting the holy names of the Lord.
Inoffensive.
Inoffensively. With faith in the potency of the holy names. Faith in the glories of the holy name. That is only one of the 10 offenses that we mentioned. There are 10 in total. But the point is that, remember, all the purposes served by all the reservoirs of water are served by one giant reservoir. And who is that giant reservoir? Krishna. Because whatever we may try to achieve from any other process, whatever it is that we are trying to achieve, where it's coming from ultimately? Krishna. Who is the source of everything? Any devata we worship, where they are getting the benediction they are offering us? They're getting it from Krishna. That's why Krishna will tell us later. Worship me directly. And at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Sarva dharmam parityaja. All dharma, all varieties of religion. You just abandon them. Why? Because by serving me, aham tam sarva papayo, I'll take care of everything. When you have the giant reservoir of water, you don't need the small secondary wells. Whatever your needs are, they are fulfilled here. So Krishna very confidently says to Arjuna, now you can surrender everything. It is not that those other processes are not helpful or relevant. They're there, they serve a purpose. But you have achieved a higher purpose, a fuller purpose. So they're no longer relevant to you. So we should not minimize these things. We should not minimize these different, processes in the Vedas. They're there. But because we are achieving something far greater, they're not relevant for our purpose. Just like that flashlight, in a dark room has great value. But out in the middle of a sunny day, it has no purpose. So now that you have all self-realized, you all are self-realized now?
Not yet.
We know.
We know. But, where's the but? The but is coming. Come on, the but has to come. But?
How do we achieve it?
How do we achieve it? We have to practice it, right? So we know. But knowing is the first step. Helpful faith. It's black and white. We've completed the full study of Vedas in 45 minutes. Pretty good. Pretty good. This is the efficiency of Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. We are in the 46th verse of the second chapter only. What's going to happen in the rest of the 16 and a half chapters? Right? It's covered in the first 1.5 chapters. The whole entirety. But because we don't have yet faith, more knowledge is coming to help build our faith. So, this is the purpose of the Vedas. And this pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Prakashananda Saraswati, I'll just discuss it briefly. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we know who's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Krishna himself. Coming for what purpose?
Teach us.
To teach us what?
Chant.
To chant the holy names. Teach us self-realization. To tell us who we are. To teach us bhakti. And he gave us one instruction. He said, just do one thing. Chant. Right? So Krishna himself is coming. He spoke already here. He's speaking here already very clearly, black and white. What is the perfection of self-realization? Chant the holy names of the Lord. What is the perfection of the Vedas? To become self-realized. What should you do? Abandon all varieties of religion. Just surrender to me. What do the great devotees do? Satatam kirtayanto mam. They chant my holy names. Who can do it? Anybody. How difficult? Patram pushpam phalas. Everywhere in the Bhagavad Gita is given all of it. But we are a little bit dense, at least speaking of myself. So Krishna thankfully comes as a devotee and shows how to do it. So like this, the great sannyasis at Kashi, at Varanasi, they were assembled. And they were engaged in the study of Vedanta. So they called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, great sannyasi. They invited him to their assembly. All the sannyasis had assembled like this. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered this great assembly. And out of a mood of humility, he decided to take his seat in the place where they were washing their feet. It was considered unclean, dirty place. And so they sat there. He sat there. And Prakashananda Saraswati, called it, Chaitanya, please come and sit amidst all of us. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no. I am not qualified to sit with all of you great sannyasis. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is showing his great mood of humility. But Prakashananda Saraswati insisted and brought Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the midst of the assembly. And there all the assembled sannyasis were like overwhelmed by this glowing effulgence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was like beaming, shining, bright. And they are all just amazed at this effulgent personality, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Prakashananda Saraswati is sitting on the Vyasasana. And he tells Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that, you are also coming in our Sampradaya. So we are gathered here daily studying Vedanta. You are not joining us. And instead, what was he doing? Chanting. He said, you are out like a madman, chanting like a sentimentalist. No, that is not a glorifying term. That is basically ridiculous. He's saying, you are just chanting and dancing. Why not use the gift you have been given and study Vedanta? This is the purpose of life. So how did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu respond? He said, my Gurudev thought me to be a great devotee? Fool. He says, my Gurudev thought me to be a great fool, not qualified to study Vedanta. So he told me to chant. So I am following the instructions of my Gurudev. And I am chanting the holy names of the Lord. But why you are crying and dancing like a madman? He said, I don't know. But when I chant the holy names of the Lord, my heart transforms. I lose control of my emotions and I go into this ecstatic state. This is the result of my chanting. But all I know is I'm fool number one. So I cannot study Vedanta. But I can chant the holy names. So then Prakashananda Saraswati decides, let me share some Vedanta with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Let me show some mercy. So Prakashananda Saraswati begins to explain Vedanta philosophy to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very patiently hearing, very patiently listening. Okay. After some time, Prakashananda Saraswati says, okay, stops, says, have you understood? Do you have any questions? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I have not understood anything you have said. And Prakashananda says, oh, I know you're not understanding Vedanta. He says, no, I have full understanding of Vedanta. I don't understand what you have said. And Prakashananda Saraswati was a little bit stunned. Hey, wait a minute. I am the leader of this Sangha. We're studying Vedanta for many years. So then Prakashananda says, okay, well, if you have not understood what I have said, but you understand, you explain it. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begins to explain Vedanta. The real purport of Vedanta. The verses that Prakashananda Saraswati was speaking on. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to explain them in the pure form, without any word jugglery, without any mental gymnastics, but in straight language. And the hearts of all the assembled sannyasis became instantly like fulfilled, satisfied, as if a giant light bulb had gone off. And for the first time, they felt they had understood Vedanta. They were stunned. And then they understood what is actually the means to understand Vedanta? It's chanting. Chanting of the holy names. That's what purifies the heart. Cheto darpana marjanam. And when the heart is purified, all knowledge is revealed. Why? The soul is made up of Sat, Chit, Ananda. What is Chit? Knowledge. Knowledge. All the knowledge is the possession of the soul. But we simply have to bring it out. And all the sages, all the sannyasis, they immediately renounced all of their study of Vedanta and took to the real purport of Vedanta. And what did they do? They engaged in chanting of the holy names. Instantly transformed, elevated to the platform of bhakti, and became wonderful devotees of the Lord, engaged in Harinam Sankirtan. So this chanting, it looks like, oh, this is the process for the simpletons, for the less educated, those not qualified to study the higher realms of Vedanta. And that was the mood of Prakashananda Saraswati. But actually, whatever he had understood, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was able to explain in exponentially more depth and clarity. Why? Through the chanting of holy names. So this is the ultimate process. This is the conclusion of all Vedanta, which is to take to the process of chanting. Then one will become fully self-realized. So if we are self-realized today in knowledge but not in practice, what should we do? Practice what? Tennis? Golf? Chanting. And how should we practice our chanting? Inoffensively. If you want to become a good tennis player, how should you practice tennis? Lazily? Randomly? Once in a while? How do you become a great tennis player? Consistently. Consistent, steady, dedicated practice. So how we're going to become self-realized? Chanting when we feel like it? Chanting with our phone in our hand? Chanting with the steering wheel in our hand? Do you practice tennis with the steering wheel in your hand? Do you practice tennis with the phone in your hand? Then why are you going to practice self-realization like this? Self-realization will be achieved through consistent, steady, dedicated chanting. That is the means. So that is the purport for this beautiful verse. Thank you very much. The Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions, comments? Everybody's got it?
Very well spoken, Prabhupada. You explained that one verse so beautifully.
All Srila Prabhupada's beautiful purports. Thank you. Shall we chant the holy names of the Lord? Enthusiastically, dedicatedly, determined, realizing this is the conclusion of all Vedas, right in our hands. We'll go and bathe in all the holy rivers in the next 12 minutes. Who's ready? Don't matter, it's cold outside. We'll be warm inside by the heart. Hare Krishna.